What would it look like if we end the Fed? It would change a lot, ending wars, shrinking governments, Wall Street, so on. But in this video, I'll just talk through some mechanics. And mechanically, it's very simple. The Fed is a corporation, and like any corporation, it can be liquidated, meaning you sell the assets, you cancel the debts, and you are done. Currently, the Fed lists about $8.9 trillion in assets and $8.4 trillion in debt, making it worth $500 billion. By the way, the Fed is actually insolvent on paper. It owes billions to Treasury and growing, but then it also underprices its gold 50-fold. And then again, the Fed also has hidden unrealized losses. Remember, it's not audited. And so those could bring it back to zero or negative. Still, taking the Fed's numbers at face value, those assets are made of $5 trillion in government debt, $2.5 trillion in mortgage-backed securities, $700 billion in loans and other assets, and then the gold, set against $8.4 trillion, which are the Fed's debt. Of those dollars, $2.3 trillion belong to regular people, $400 billion are owned by Treasury, and $3.2 trillion belong to commercial banks. So yes, Wall Street has more dollars than the other 325 million Americans. So winding up the Fed is simple. You sell off the assets for dollars, you cancel the dollars, and if anything's left, it goes to the people who were forced to sell gold to FDR in 1934. Of course, this instant liquidation is very disruptive, and private gold or Bitcoin in a single leap would be hard on a government. So you might want to go the gradual route and keep the dollar, but simply make it redeemable in the Fed's existing assets. So you bring $1,000 to the Fed, you get a $1,000 bond or mortgage-backed security in return. Of course, all those treasuries and mortgage bonds fluctuate, and so simpler yet is to declare that a dollar is redeemable in some fixed benchmark, say 1/2000th of an ounce of gold. Then as people redeem, the Fed simply sells their bonds and securities for gold, and they hand the gold over. Note, people would only redeem if they expected inflation to continue, and inflation does not exist without a government manipulating interest rates and permanently bailing out banks as lender of last resort, which is why in the first 150 years of our republic before the Fed, there was zero total inflation. So even if the government found another way to inflate, say by Treasury printing money or bailing out banks, that would simply mean people redeem their dollars for Fed assets. The Fed assets would drain away, and when the smoke clears, the assets are transferred to the American people who now use gold as money. In other words, the problem contains the solution. Finally, a gold-backed dollar would, of course, mop the floor with BRICS and China, indeed with every other currency in existence, meaning every country on Earth would be forced to either imitate or die. Whereas gold backing the dollar substantially ends all unbacked fiat in the world. It is a tantalizing prospect, ending worldwide inflation, financial crisis, worldwide depression, and the wars that feed on fiat. But of course, they know this, so they will do everything possible to keep it. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.